Welcome back, guys. PXCam20 back in with a brand new video. We are here at Red Bull Ring as we are in our Peugeot. Let me know if I got it right. I don't know if I did, but we're in the RCZ, the Group 4 edition. As you can see, basically everybody else is in except for one guy decided to take the Subaru. But we are here at Red Bull Ring for the daily race B, as it's going to be a 5-lap race here around the Red Bull Ring. But the reason why a lot of people have picked this car is because it's just so fast on the straightaways. It doesn't have the best turning or the best braking, but just the straight line speed is just superior to majority of the other cars that are racing around this racetrack. So we're able to get a 136.3, and I'm actually going to show you guys the qualifying lap and take you guys on a quick little walkthrough on how to get a good lap on this racetrack. But before we jump into that, if you guys haven't yet, we're trying to reach a goal of 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So if you guys really enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video, as it really helps out the channel when you guys do so. Anyways, that's enough promoting myself. Let's jump straight into the qualifying guide. So as we come into our qualifying guide, we're coming down the straightaway as we head into turn number 1. Braking right before the 100-meter board, we're going to take a wide entrance in and try to clip it as narrow as we can, go into that first corner and get a good exit here as we just power back onto the throttle and go full throttle now as we come into the hairpin of turn number 3. So coming to this curve here, this is considered turn number 2 for some reason as we come into turn number 3. Braking right before the 100-meter board, taking a very late braking there as we're going to go into the inside of the apex. And we're going to go out very wide there. As you can see how wide we go, we actually go on top of the sausage curb. And we are just going to stay planted on the throttle as we head now into turn number 4 and look for our mark to make the break. So braking right before the 100-meter board, go very wide and take kind of a late apex here as we come into turn number 4. Get a good exit here, go really wide, and just hold the momentum here as you come down into turn number 5, go heading us into turn number 6. So coming to the 50-meter board, this is going to be a very late apex as we're going to clip the curbs now when it starts and then just right along that tire mark on the bottom. Go very wide coming into this entrance here. Again, get another late apex as we're going to go all the way to the right hand side here. Get all 4 tires on that curb going into that right hander and get a good exit here coming down into the final 2 corners as we are now on the straightaway. So coming down the straightaway, braking right before the 50-meter board. Try to clip the apex as best as we can. We're going to go very wide here as we have 2 tires on the green part. Get a really narrow entrance there going into that final corner and then go very wide coming out of that corner, and that's how you get a 136.6 on this lap for this racetrack. So as we're jumping into the race now, we are starting in our RCZ again, as there's a couple of cars that decided to pick differently, as there's some Megane up ahead of us. But other than that, we're going to stay right here as we're following to the final corner now. Coming down the start finish line, we are crossing the start finish line now as we get our 3, 2, 1. And we are a go now as we head into turn number 1. So coming into turn number 1, we're just going to brake very early so we don't make contact with the Brazilian up ahead. We clip our apex really good, and we're going to follow him on the slipstream as we head now into the hairpin of turn number 3. So coming to the hairpin here, you see the Brazilian makes contact with the American, and that's going to cause us to make contact with the American ahead of us because he lost the momentum there coming out of the corner. And we are still in 6th place, as it really didn't hurt us that much, but look at how much time we actually lost to the American ahead of us. So could have tried to make an overtake on the inside if I would have known that the Brazilian was going to do that, but he didn't, as we brake very late, almost made contact with the American coming to the right-hander, but luckily we were able to get on the brakes as soon as possible and not make contact with the American ahead of us and ram him out of the way as we head into this fast left-hander. So coming to this left-hander here, you see the top 4 are still nose and tail as they're still kind of close to each other as we're just trying to catch up to the American, make an overtake on him so we could try to catch up to 4th place and maybe fight for a podium here as we come out of this left and right hander here. So coming out of the right hander is going to lead us into the straightaway, taking us to the final 2 corners. Ahead of us, they're getting a little squirrely as some of them are peeking out, trying to look for an overtake now as we come into the final 2 corners, braking right before the 50-meter board. We get a good entrance there as equal how much time we gain on the American ahead of us. As we're coming into the final corner now, the American gets a little too narrow going into that corner, and we get a great exit here going down to the straightaway, and the American actually gets a half a second penalty, so that's going to cost him here as we go into this penalty zone coming up on lap number 2. So coming up into lap number 2, going into turn number 1, you see the Brazilian is trying to make his way into 4th place as he actually pushes 4th place out of there. He was going in for 3rd place, but 4th place, the Mexican, has actually lost a lot of time as they're now going side by side ahead of us into the hairpin. Going side by side, what are we going to go here as the Mexican makes contact with the American? The American goes in, slams out the Brazilian, and we make contact with the Mexicans. The Brazilian gets a 1-second penalty. Going down the straightaway right here, the Brazilian retaliates. The American bumps him out wide on the penalty zone, and the American's coming back onto the racetrack. But luckily he missed us, as the Brazilian now has a 1-second penalty, and we're able to gain 1 position because of that as we jump up into turn number 4. So coming into this turn right here, we're still right behind the Mexican as he is trying to look around the Brazilians. He's going to have to serve his penalty here on the next penalty zone, as on Red Bull Ring there are 2 penalty zones. And we are just following the Mexican now as we come into the left-hander here. Staying on the slipstream here. As you can see, the top 2 cars are just pulling away from all 3 of us. And the field behind us as we are coming to this left-hander here. We're staying right behind the Mexican now as we come out of the right-hander, leading us into the straightaway. Staying on the slipstream. Let's see how much the time is going to affect the Brazilian. And you can see it affect him a lot as we jump into the inside, make the overtake on the Brazilian as he tries to make an overtake on the outside. But we're able to cover him there as we are now promoted into 4th place and set our sights on the Mexican ahead of us as we come down to the start-finish line. So jumping into the end of lap number 3 now, coming to the final 2 corners. We actually missed that apex as we go a little bit wide coming out of that corner. But the Mexican actually goes very, very narrow going into that final corner. And he's going to get the same penalty that the American did on lap number 1. As he now has a 1/2 second penalty going into lap number 4. And he's going to lead us into turn number 1. Let's see if we can try to catch up to him and make the overtake when we hit the penalty zone. So just trying to catch up as best as we can to the Mexican ahead of us, as we have to stay at least 0.6 of a second or 0.7 of a second behind us so we can at least attempt an overtake on him as we come into turn number 4. As we come out of the hairpin now, we're staying in the slipstream of the Mexican as he's going to have to serve his penalty on the penalty zone. Serving his penalty here. Where are we going to go here as he's covering the inside, but he gives us a little bit of space on the inside, so we're going to go onto the grass here, try to make a move onto the inside. Keeping it out to the inside as we go side by side into turn number 4, but we back out of the move there as the Mexican covers us. And we are stuck in 4th place now as we are now on his back bumper here as we come into this sweeping left-hander. Coming to the sweeping left-hander of turn number 6, we are staying right behind the Mexican ahead of us. But we are unable to get close enough to try to make an overtake on him as we're now coming to this snaky part of the left and right-hander here. Staying right behind him now as we come into the right-hander. Are we going to be able to catch up to him as we still have 1 lap to go to try to make any attempt to overtake him as we come into the final lap? So coming to the final lap, we're going out of the right-hander here, and we just were unable to catch up to the Mexican ahead of us. As you can see, he's pulling away from us now as we come into the final 2 corners. Staying in the slipstream right here as we're going to break right before the 50-meter board. Try to clip the apex as best as we can as the Mexican goes a little bit wide, as we are hoping we can clear this last corner without any incidents. We do so there as we run a little bit wide, but coming to the line, we're going to finish this race in 4th place after starting in 6th place. Avoided all the trouble, and we're able to get a couple of DR points here now as we are jumping into our 2nd race. So jumping into our 2nd race here, we are starting in 5th place as we have a Megan right behind us, and we also have a Megan in the 1st place. So let's see if we could try to catch up to them, try to make up as many positions as we can, and aim for a podium. It's just super duper difficult to make overtakes on this racetrack now as we come down to the start-finish line, leading us into turn number 1. So coming down the straightaway here, going into turn number 1, we set our sights on 4th place as he almost makes contact with the Brazilian ahead of him. And we're going to fast forward here as we come down the straightaway. That's not really a straightaway, but going into the hairpin now of turn number 3. We try to just go as easy as we can here as everybody makes it through cautiously without making any contact. And we are able to maintain our 5th place position as we jump up further into the race. So coming into the final corners now, you see that we're catching up to 4th place a little bit as we're just going single file now into the train. And there's a car ahead of us that's got a penalty there, so that's going to be able to help us out now as he's going to have to serve his penalty going into the 1st penalty zone. Coming to turn number 1, we brake very, very late and try to stay right behind 4th place as we get a really good entrance and a good exit there. Look at how much time we got on 4th place. And 3rd place again is going to have to serve his penalty as me and 4th are catching up to 3rd place. 4th is trying to make a move onto the outside of 3rd place. It's actually 2nd's got a penalty too, so that's going to help us out as 2 cars have a penalty. And look how much time we gain on 4th place as they're going side by side going out of the hairpin. They make contact, and that's going to help us out there as they're making contact, beating and banging, slowing each other down. And going to the penalty zone, the Brazilian has to serve his penalty, and so does the American. And we're able to make 2 positions in the span of 1 straightaway, as both of them had to serve their penalties now as we start focusing on the 2nd place car as we head into turn number 4. So coming to turn number 4, trying to get a good exit, just staying right behind 2nd place. Let's see if we can make an overtake on him as we jump up into lap number 3. So coming to lap number 3, going to turn number 1. We're braking as early as we can to try to make a move onto the inside, but we almost run into the back of him, as that's going to allow the car behind us to catch up to us now as he's in our slipstream. And we're going to hold it down to the inside. Hopefully we can try to hold our position now. But you can see on the bottom our throttle is blipping, as we have not fixed the throttle issue that we have on our pedals. And that's just going to allow fourth place to come to us, go into the inside, and make the overtake there, as we almost make contact coming out of the corner. But we are on the outside still, and we hold the momentum, as first place has to serve as penalty there. And we are able to maintain third place, as second place is starting to run away with it now with first place, as we are just setting our sights behind us and trying to defend our position as we head into this right-hander. So coming to the right-hander, the car behind us brakes very, very late, and we got to give him the spot there, as he's able to make the overtake now. And that's inviting fifth place to try to make a move onto the inside. It's going to turn into the outside now as we head into the left-hander. Braking right before the 50-meter board. Fourth place is able to get the overtake on us on the outside. A very, very good move there. As we come into the left and right-hander, we're staying right behind both of them and just biding our time here, staying right behind them, and see if we can try to make an attempt on an overtake here as we come into the final two corners. So coming down the straightaway here, leading us into the final two corners, we're staying right behind the Americans. We're looking onto the inside, but it's just way too optimistic to try and make a move here. And we're just going to follow them as they run a little bit wide coming out of that corner now. Coming to the final corner, the Brazilian goes really, really wide, and it takes the American with them. And they both make contact there as we're able to make the overtake on the American. We're going side by side with the Brazilian here. Going to turn number one, what's going to happen here is one of us is going to have to give as we come into turn number one. Going to turn number one, we brake as late as we can. But the Brazilian's able to overtake us on the outside. But we've got contact from behind, and that's going to propel us forward as the Brazilian gets a half a second penalty there. And that's going to help us out tremendously as we are now promoted into third place. And the Brazilian has to serve his penalty. So jump into the replay. Let's see what happened here. The American just gets a really good entrance in there and had nowhere to go. Decided to pick us to help. And he pushed us up to the front as we are now in third place and ready to sit on a podium if we can hold off fourth and fifth behind us. So coming to the hairpin now, fourth place still has to serve his penalty as he got a half a second penalty for, I think, corner cutting or just not maintaining the track limits as we come into lap number 5. And you can see how much time we actually were able to gain on fourth place and fifth place as we are now jumping up into the end of lap number 5. So coming to the middle part of lap number 5, second place has to serve his penalty. Is that going to help us in any way, as we don't know if he's too far ahead of us? Slowing down here as we were catching up to him. We're almost less than a second to him now as we come into turn number 4. Coming to turn number 4, we try to brake as late as we can to try to make up as much time as we can. And look at how much we were able to gain on second place. But unfortunately, as we come into the final corner, we are unable to try to get as close as we can to him. And we're going to finish this race on the podium in third place after starting in fifth. So not too shabby. We're able to make up 2 positions there and really increase our DR points and our safety rating points. So really good day at Red Bull Ring. As I wish we could have got second on one of these races, but anyways, it's okay. We get at least a podium. So really fun race. Really difficult to overtake on this racetrack just because so many cars are using the exact same one. You can see everybody basically from 13th to 2nd is using the Peugeot, and so that's what makes it really difficult, because when you guys are all racing on the same car, it's basically up to mistakes and taking each other out is the only way you guys can make an overtake, unless if like you're just faster than the car ahead of you. But yeah, that's basically the gist of Red Bull Ring. If you guys really enjoyed the video, again, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video, as it really helps out the channel when you guys do so. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. Peace out.